welcome to QuantMinds International. I'm Lily Nguyen, and I'm joined today by Stephane Crepey, Professor of Mathematical Finance at the University of Evry, and Rodney Hoskinson, Director of Quantitative Support at the Strategic Trading and Funding at ANZ Banking Group. Thank you very much for joining me here today. So, Rodney, how is GPU and deep learning transforming quantitative finance?
Well, GPU is very powerful technology. I guess it is increasing in its power over time, and it has enormous potential to help banks deal with the increasing computational burden that they're facing in recent years. It's a type of technology that you can leverage to get some pretty impressive gains in computational performance quite quickly. And it has, I believe, a lot of potential to accelerate the quantitative calculations. For deep learning, in the area that I work in, which is in the front office trading, I think it's kind of on the radar. Okay, it's not being used that much in practice in the banks that I've worked in, but I think there's an increasing awareness about it. And I think banks will come to address the potential of it more in the coming years. You know, they're kind of aware that these methods are being used in other areas of the bank, like in credit and fraud detection and that type of thing. And I think it's a matter of time before the parts of it that are useful for front office calculations will be utilised.
Just to add that if we compare the situation with other application areas, quantitative finance is a domain where deep learning is mostly relevant with respect to computations involving model-generated data, as opposed to historical data, which tend to be not so big data and also not so stationary. So that application of the method would be valid. On the other hand, when it comes to training or supervised learning on model-generated data, deep learning is definitely it's a key tool for quantitative finance in applications such as everything related to interpolation, extrapolation, enhanced regressions, or brute force solving of problems that were seen as unapproachable before, like solving control problems, brute force, so these kind of things.
So, Stephane, you have been working on the XVA framework for this. So what were the challenges of that?
Okay, so the challenges is that when it comes to, let's say, second order XVA metrics in particular, which are pricing the risk of even fluctuations of lower order XVA metrics, like what is the risk of future CVA swings, these kind of things. You can only address this kind of risk at the level of the derivative portfolio of the bank as a whole, which means forward simulation of thousands of risk factors, backwardation of hundreds of thousands of trades which need to be priced. And the until recent view on that problem is that it could only be solved by nested Monte Carlo simulations, which is nice and dandy, but also quite demanding in terms of computation cost and even expertise. So our tackle in this talk is to show that using GPU, deep learning / AAD tools, the even second order XVA computational task can be achieved by a pure enhanced regression approach.
So you'll be presenting together your latest work. What is the one thing that you would like people to take away?
I think from my perspective as an XVA practitioner, I guess the thing I would like people to take away is that this framework that we've worked in, which is a whole bank balance sheet perspective, banks should take a look at it and see what they can take out of it. You know, given that we've shown that by leveraging these modern tools of GPU and deep learning, AAD, that this complex approach can be realised, banks should look at what they can take out of it. So we cover aspects like calculating the impact of doing new trades at the whole bank level, a refined calculation of the funding valuation adjustment that takes into account the whole bank level, as well as the interaction of the FVA with the other XVA terms like the CVA and the MVA. There's also the aspect of the KVA, or cost of servicing the capital aspect, as well. And in this framework, there are some interesting thoughts about what does it actually mean. What does it mean to calculate a KVA? How can it be used by banks to improve their capital management? So banks should look at this framework, not be afraid of it like they may have been in the past because of its perceived complexity, but look at what can they learn from it and what can they take out of it.
And Stephane, what about you?
Well, I fully agree, and what I can add is that there is also an emphasis on the conceptual level on the fact that XVA metrics, even though they crucially include the default of the bank in their specification, are ultimately unilateral. And that's because it should be computed under the survival probability measure of the bank, and therefore they are also all non-negative. Okay, this emerges naturally from the way we model the XVAs, and we think it is good. And the sign that it is good is that it makes them naturally in line with regulatory requirements that capital should not say decrease because the risk of the bank increase, for instance. Okay, so that just to complement Rodney's.
Yeah, that's a major component of it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much both for joining us today.
Okay, thank you, Lily.
Thank you, Lily.